Welcome to Everyday Linux User. In today's video we're going to be looking at Puppy Linux. So start off with, let's look at why we're looking at Puppy Linux. So every week I'm looking at different distributions on the DistroWatch website, and I've been working my way down the list. Now this list has changed a bit since my last review. EasyOS seems to have jumped up the list, but when I started making this video, Puppy was above EasyOS, and in fact there's been a change of order quite a bit recently. And so today we're doing Puppy OS. Next time out we'll probably do EasyOS and then Mageia, Alma, and I might do something on Kali and maybe not. I don't think it's really for the everyday Linux user. Arguably Puppy isn't, but for all of you unaware, Puppy Linux is a distribution that runs off a USB pen drive. It's very small in nature, very lightweight, and you can persist the data to the USB drive. And so you've basically got a portable Linux distribution you can carry around in your pocket, use anywhere. You can, of course, install it to your own hardware if you want to. It's not specifically designed for that. Puppy Linux it's not the easiest solution you're going to come across to use, but it's kind of novel and it's actually good in certain circumstances. And through this video, I'll be taking you through setting it up, downloading it, installing it to a USB drive, setting up the save file that you need to set up, and then how to do things like set up the internet, which can be a bit fiddly, set up printers and Bluetooth, all those sort of things, if I can. And then we'll look at some of the software installations and things like that. So to start with, let's find a Puppy download. So you can just go to puppylinux.com, and this is what it looks like. It uses the JWM window manager. Now it used to be that Puppy was 50 megabytes in size, and but now it's still quite small at 300 megabytes for a download. So there's various different versions available. So you've got a Ubuntu version, you've got one for Raspberry Pi, and depends on which version of Ubuntu you want to use, determines which of these. So Puppy's based on either Slackware or Ubuntu, and so you can either choose the Slackware version or the Ubuntu version. I'm going to go for the FossilPup one for this video. So all you need to do is click on this main link here, and it will download there, and it'll take it won't take long at all. It's only 409 megs in size for the download. What you will need also is Rufus. If you're using Windows, Rufus is a tool that will enable you to burn the ISO image to a USB drive. In this case, Etcher, I normally advocate using Etcher for this sort of thing, but in this case, Rufus is better because it allows you to leave the drive writable. So you've got rufus.ie, so you can click on that link there. And if you scroll down, you'll see various download links that you're looking for. There's a portable version that you can put on USB drives, or you can have one that's just standard for Windows. I'm going to use that. There's an x86 version, which is for 32-bit computers, and then you've got the ARM version for ARM devices. So we're going to click the top one here, and that's going to download Rufus. You can see I've got one after each one. That's because I've done this previously. I did a fair bit of investigation into Puppy before creating this video. This isn't being done blind. So now they're downloaded, you can close the browser and we can go to the Explorer folder. If we click on the downloads, yeah, you'll see you've got the Rufus there and the FossilPup there. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click on the Rufus, except when this user account thing pops up. You will need to have inserted your USB drive at this point. So yeah, you will need a USB drive. In this case, I'd recommend a 16 to 32 gigabyte one, not for Puppy itself. Puppy itself is small, but obviously if you want to install software, you want to put your own files on it, like your documents, music, stuff like that, the bigger the USB drive, the more chance you have of doing that. Obviously, you don't want to go too big with the USB drive because it will slow things down, but 16 to 32 gig is a good limit. I've gone for a 16 gigabyte one, and now we need to select the image. So I'm going to select, and you can see I had last month already done that. So I'm going to choose this one that I've downloaded today. Now you can leave the partition scheme as it is. You don't need to put persistence on. Everything can actually just remain the same at this point. And click start. And it'll ask you whether you want to write in ISO mode or DD mode. You want to leave it as ISO mode because this will leave the disk writable. So when it creates the PUP file that's used to save settings, it will be able to do so because it's left in a writable format. So leave the defaults, click OK. At this point, it will say all your data on this drive will be deleted. This is important. If you have any information on that USB drive you want to keep, you need to go and copy that data somewhere else before doing this, or use a different USB drive. Click OK. And the process will begin, and it'll delete any partitions on the USB drive you've got already, and then it'll create the master boot record, and then it'll copy Puppy onto the USB drive. Okay, so eventually it will complete the formatting and the copy of the files. So what you can do now is close down Rufus. If you want to run Puppy on the PC that you're using, you can do that. It's no problem at all. Remember, everything's going to run off the USB drive. You shouldn't be in a position where it's going to overwrite anything on your hard drive at all anyway, as long as you don't hit the install button, but we'll get to that later. But if you want to use it in a different PC, you can also do that. So what you need to do is boot the computer or reboot the current computer and press the function key relevant to bring up the boot menu. This differs from manufacturer to manufacturer. In my case, it's F7, but yours might be different. You can always Google it, or you can just randomly hit function keys and the escape key as the system's booting up. But you should see a boot menu appear as I'll show you now. Okay, so shaky cam time now, because I use my mobile phone for this bit. But I press the F7 key and you'll see that I've got this menu appearing here. And my USB drive is the one at the top. I'm going to press return there. And then you can see it popped up a little menu there, but it's then skipped to this one. And what you want to do is just select the top option. And now it will boot into Puppy Linux. Okay, so I have now booted into Puppy Linux, and this is exactly what you see when you first boot in. So you can do various things. You can see it's already picked up where I am in the world. So that's my main language. Unfortunately, it's picked my time zone as Los Angeles, which I'm not. So you can go down and pick the correct one. And then the keyboard also is wrong. So that's the one I want there. And then it's worked out my resolution is 1920 by 1080, but you can run the video wizard if you want. You can also set a hostname. So in this case, I'm going to call it Gary Pup. And that's all I need to do at this stage, and I can click OK. It says change applied successfully. And then it's got various things you can do. So you can set up your internet connection. So let me go to the browse option first and see if we've got any sort of internet connection whatsoever. It's open twice for some reason, don't need that. Alright, so it's opened this. So if I go to google.com, you can see I've got nothing. So we definitely need to do the internet connection, even though I'm on a wired connection. So we'll click there, and it's various options available. I'm going to go for the wired or wireless LAN. And then you've got various different network setup wizards. So I'm going to start off with the simple one. And you can see I've got this wired one here. So I'm going to click on ETH0 because that will be the Ethernet cable. And you can see it's trying to connect using that. And it says your successful connection to wired Ethernet. So now if I go to here, I should be able to get to Google, and I can. So my wired internet connection is now working perfectly fine. Now the rest of it I'm going to do a little bit later on, but the first thing I want to do now, you can do video driver, and then you can do some exploring. But there is when you first set up for the first time, what you want to do is create a Puppy save file, and the way you do that is you go to menu and you click on exit. And as soon as you click on reboot or something like that, it's going to ask you to create a save file, and I'll show you that in a second. Machine. So what we're going to do is going to click on reboot. So you can see that it says this session is going to reboot, but you can save the session. So if I click save, and it's got first shutdown, choose partition. So where do you want to choose to store it? So you can actually choose one of your other, so you can choose to store the PUP save file onto the hard drive. The danger with doing that means if you carry your USB drive to another machine, you obviously haven't got your save file. So I'm going to choose my USB drive, the one that says recommended. I'm going to click OK. And you can have normal or you can have encrypted with LUKS. I'm going to go for normal. And then it says what file system do you want to use? So I'm going to stick with the ext4. And it says how big do you want it to be? So I'm going to go for 2 gigabytes. The maximum is 4. It recommends 512, but I'm going to go for 2 gigabytes and click OK. And then you can give it a name. So I'm going to call it Gary Pup. And I'm going to click OK. And then it's yes to save, do not save or change folder. I'll click yes. And it's going to create the save file, and then it will reboot the computer. So here we are, boot back into FossPup, and if I go to my files, you'll see that the videos I've created are all still there. So it didn't get lost in the reboot, which means it got written to my save file. That's a good thing. And if I go to the internet, it should still be working because it should remembered what my settings were when I set up the internet previously. As you see, it hasn't. That's kind of interesting. So we'll leave that there. What we'll do is go back into setup, make sure that everything else is still the same as it was. You can see it's saved all those settings, but we'll need to go to the internet again. And we'll go back to here, we'll go to the simple network setup, and we'll click on here, and we'll click connect now. I find it a little bit hit and miss as to whether that will connect. So I've deleted it and I'm now retrying to connect this time. And I've got a successful connection. And as you can see, I can get to Google. So we'll cancel that. Let's try the printer setup. So manage printer and printing tasks. And the tool you're going to use is cups. So go to administration, add printer, and you can see it's actually discovered my OfficeJet. So I can just click on that, click continue, click continue again. And it's asking for the model. Now the interesting thing here, it won't actually have my version here, I don't think. So it's 3830. No. So we could just go for the generic OfficeJet and click add printer. And then it says what do you want it to be. It's only going to go in grayscale for some reason. But it's a start, and it's something I can work with. And that's how you set up printers. And there you go. It's there, ready to go. I can now print to that printer, albeit in black and white. Now, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth I'm going to come back to. I want to show some of the other features of Puppy first. So down in the bottom left, you've got the menu that you can bring up, but you can also bring that up right-clicking on the desktop, and the applications. You've got lots of applications installed with Puppy for something that's so small. A lot of them are tools. What you should notice is the amount of memory that's being used. If you think Simple Screen Recorder is using more memory than anything else, everything else is tiny. These are the tools you've got. So you've got Inkscape Lite, you've got MT Paint, which is a paint program. Got LeafPad editor, Genie, which is also an editor, Abbey Word, which is a word processor. But you can see there's a link here for getting LibreOffice and installing it. And then you've got some business software. Again, you've got Numeric, which is lightweight spreadsheet package, HomeBank, which is finance package. Under the internet, Pale Moon is the web browser. You've got Clausemail, which is a load of rubbish. HexChat, IRC chat, you get, which is a downloading program. Why there's a Get Flash install Flash Player in 2023, I do not know. That should be removed by now. Under multimedia, you've got Simple Screen Recorder actually came installed. You've also got MPV Media Player, Deadbeef, which is an audio player, CD Ripper, got this radio program, and then you've got a few games as well. So get quite a bit installed by default. You've got this concept of QuickPet, which I'll come back to in a minute. Down here you've got all your drives. So these are all the hard drives connected to my computer at this moment in time. So this SDC1 is the USB drive I'm running from. And then I've got SDB2, which is my second hard drive on the PC, and then SDA1 and 2 are the first hard drive on my PC. So you can access any one of those, and it's mounted, and I can see the contents of that drive. The icons on the screen are kind of laid out in a functional way. So at the top you've got all sort of stuff, that sort of administration type stuff. So your file manager, mounting drives, installing Puppy. You kind of don't want to do that if you're running off the USB drive, want to continue running off the USB drive, but I will click on that in a minute. You've got the setup, which I've shown you before, and then you can get into the terminal clicking this. One important note with Puppy is that you run as a root user. You can run as something called a spot user, which is your traditional user, where you would then sudo if you want to run an administration thing. But the whole way Puppy works is you're running off a USB drive. If you break it, then you can always recreate the USB drive in theory. And their ethos is that if you're skillful enough to use Puppy, then you're probably skillful enough to have the root privileges. I don't know how I feel about that. I quite like having the separation of users, and I'm sure other distributions have the separation for a good reason. But you know, I am running off a USB drive. I kind of get the principle behind what they're saying. Then you got the sort of like applications like Paint and listening to music, writing for word processor and spreadsheet package. And then you've got your internet connected stuff here. Then you've got your planners, and for some reason the video player is down here. You'd expect that to be up there, I think. Connect to the internet, and then this thing called QuickPet. So I'm going to click on this one first and show you what that does. And this is where you can update to install the latest updates. And you can see that's going to work quite quickly. And it's going to update all the packages on the system. And we'll leave that to run in the background. You can change the kernel that's running. You've got Puppy Search Engine, Live Puppy Chat. But over here, you've got different packages you can install. So if you don't like Pale Moon, you can install Chrome, Opera, all of these quite easily. Under Net, you've got these other tools like Java and Flash in 2023, I don't think so. Google Earth, things like that. Then under Office, you've got different Office suites. So if Abbey Word and Numeric aren't for you, you can install any one of these. You can install a better mail client than Clause, Dropbox installer, etc. Audio Visio, so you've got Kdenlive and GIMP and things like that. And you've got fun tools, so Steam you could install. And then you've got useful stuff and drivers. So here are your NVIDIA drivers. So let's try a couple of these things out. So under browsers, I'm going to go for my normal Chrome. And it's interesting, it takes you to the Chrome download. Now I'm going to click the and it asks how should you open it, and it says Puppy Package Handler. I'm going to click OK with that. Pale Moon likes to be the center of attention. So Puppy Package Manager says, do you want to install this package? Yes, I do. And you can see it says following package has been successfully installed, so click OK. We can close out of this now. If I click and go to internet, you can see Google Chrome is now there, and I click OK on that. Do I want to make it default? Click OK. And there you can see I've now got Chrome open, so let's whilst it's loading, I'm going to ask everyone to, if you like this video, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and if you like the video, give it a good thumbs up. And you'll see all the videos that I've been creating over the past few months. So with that in mind, now let's do LibreOffice. Or should we do WPS? Let's do WPS for a change. But the same thing happens, you just click this button. So what it's taking me to is this SFS downloader. And now I have to click on the one I want to install. So it didn't matter that I picked WPS here, pulled up this page, and then I have to click OK. And then ask for the mirror. And then you ask you where you want to download it to. So I'm going to just click the download button here. You can see that it failed, so I can either test again, or I can give up. But I can choose a different URL. So we'll try this one instead. Again, failed. and this time the third link along worked. You can see it's downloading and installing that now. So for all of you that are new to Linux, Puppy isn't traditional. Don't think this is the way all of Linux works. This is a lightweight Linux distribution designed to run on a USB. Things are going to be a bit trickier than running Ubuntu or Mint or one of the other more easy to use distributions. This is very bespoke, very different to nearly every other distribution. The plus side of using something like this, you've got a portable USB drive with Linux on it, and you can install software and run Puppy anywhere you go. You can use Linux. And of course, the memory usage is very low indeed. And now you can see it says WP has successfully loaded. Do not remove or move the file unless you unload it. You may need to restart X to reflect changes. Do you want to run the application right now? If you do, so I could run the writer and click run. And you can see under business, I've now got WPS spreadsheets. And I've got WPS under here as well. I've got a license agreement. I'm going to click yes. And WPS loads. So let's come out of that and let's click on this install option up here. Now, what this allows you to do, you can do a full install so you can create another bootable USB drive for running Puppy against on a different USB drive. You can install it to your hard drive, but this doesn't support UEFI, or you can do a Frugal install, and this does support UEFI. So this is how you'd install to your own hard drive. I'm not going to do that. I don't think Puppy is really designed to run from a hard drive like this, and I don't think you'll get much benefit from doing so. There are better solutions, lightweight solutions, if you want to run lightweight Linux. So we're going to skip the install Puppy, but we've got this install application. So you've got this thing called the Puppy package manager, and you can also load SFS packages. So you can get SFS packages from different sources. So you can download them from the internet. So this is sort of like the one you saw earlier, where it gives you from the QuickPet type thing. Or you've got the Puppy package manager, which is more of a traditional style package manager, and it's got all sort of applications in PET format. And PET is the sort of standard format for Puppy. And these are the repositories that you can use. So by default, it's going to use Ubuntu local main, then Multiverse, then Universe, and then FOSS64. And you can basically search for any packages you want within here. So if I wanted to say Rhythmbox, you can see it appears and I can install Rhythmbox. Connecting to the internet via Wi-Fi is a little bit tricky with Puppy Linux. Now, there's 3 tools available. There's Barry's Simple Network Wizard, there's Frisbee, and then there's the Simple Networking tool. Now, what you'll see I've done here is I'll connect to the internet using the Ethernet connection. I'm going to the forum, I'm downloading a PET package, I'm then going into the Simple Network tool, I'm loading the module in for the PET package that has the Realtek 8821 CE driver. So after I've loaded that module in, I then go to the More tab within there, and I click on the Auto Probe. And what that does is it probes for a relevant driver, and it finds a driver and it will say this may or may not work. So when you click OK, it will tell you if it finds the WLAN or not. And if it doesn't, what you do is you go back to that tab again, and you auto probe again, and eventually it will find the driver that gives you the WLAN 0. Once you've got that, the simple networking tool isn't actually that great at all. So now what you want to do is go into Barry's networking tool again, and then you can see the WLAN device there. And at this point, you'll be able to pull up a list of internet connections, enter your password, click OK, and it should then connect to the internet perfectly well. So that's what you see in this part of the video. I've redone this voiceover because it was so patchy when I did it previously that it didn't come out straight, and that this has been recorded after. Okay, so that was a lot of work just to get the Wi-Fi working. It's a lot more difficult than in Mint, just right-clicking and choosing your network. Sound. You can choose what is the sound, so I'm going to click that one. And that will test your speakers, and it works. You can change your screen resolution, choose screen saver, things like that, multi-monitor support, change date time, keyboard, mouse. You can add modules in and you can choose a swap file. So to do things like change wallpapers, you go to desktop and you choose the JW on desk, and then you can do things like change the background. So there's a few default ones here. You can obviously put your own pictures into the folder. So I've copied a picture into the downloads folder. So click that like that, and then click apply. And you can see I've got a new puppy background. You can change themes, have window effects, you can change the Conky settings, set up hotkeys and things like that. So, what do I think about Puppy Linux? So this has been a setup guide, it's been a bit of a review and setup guide, installation, etc. So it's all in one. And what I think is, for the everyday Linux user, it's not something your average Joe is going to use. I think you're going to need a bit of Linux experience, and you're going to need the ability to persevere, because things don't naturally happen. The ability to connect to the Wi-Fi was a bit of a chore. Installing packages is quite easy. I guess once you've got your hardware set up, it would be okay to use. It's not. It locks up at times. It's not. Whilst it doesn't use much memory, it does lock up. It doesn't always do what you'd expect it to do. It's quirky, but at the same time, you've got Linux on a USB drive. So from a everyday Linux user point of view, it's not going to be your daily driver. It's not going to be your installed operating system that you're going to use every single day of the week. And it's definitely not typical Linux, as other Linux distributions are. It's okay. Similar to the Anti-X review from last time, it's lightweight, might work well on older machines, but I think you need specific user cases to understand why you would use Puppy Linux in 2023. And on that note, that's the end of the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on Everyday Linux User.